Just say Heech, a Turkish Selly tale. Once there was, and twice there was not, in a time when God's creatures were many, and it was a sin to talk too much. Well, in those times there lived a man who had a simple-minded servant named Hassan. Now, Hassan was a good enough servant, that's true, except for one thing. He could never remember from one minute to the next what he'd been told to do. Now one day Hassan's master called to him and said, "Hassan, Hassan, please take this penny to the market and get me some salt." "The salt? How am I going to remember salt?" asked Hassan. He and his master thought about it, and they came up with the idea that if maybe Hassan said it over and over and over on his way to the market, he'd remember what he was supposed to buy. So Hassan started out for the market, scuffing his shoes down the road, saying over and over and over to himself, "Heech, Heech, 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 Heech," because in Hassan's village, that was the word for salt. He hadn't gotten very far down the road until he saw a man fishing in the river at the side of the road. And he stopped to watch, rocking back and forth on his heels and saying, "Heech, Heech, 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 Heech." Whereas the word Heech in Hassan's small village means salt, in many parts of Turkey it means nothing. And that is just what this fisherman had been catching the last 3 days. Absolutely nothing. He became infuriated, and breaking his pole over his knee, he threw it at Hassan and said, "You should not say that." But what am I supposed to say?" And the fisherman said, "You should say, 'May there be 5 or 10 of them. May there be 5 or 10 of them.'" "Oh, okay," said Hassan. So scuffing his shoes, scratching his head, he said over and over and over to himself, "May there be 5 or 10 of them. May there be 5 or 10 of them." As luck would have it, coming up the road in the opposite direction at this particular time was the funeral procession of a very prominent, wealthy citizen of Turkey. And all of the people in the funeral procession were moaning and very sad that this man had passed away. And here was Hassan walking down the road, looking at it and smiling and saying, "May there be 5 or 10 of them. May there be 5 or 10 of them." One of the ladies in the funeral procession came over to him and said, "Have you no respect for the dead? You should not be saying that." But the fisherman, tell me, just what am I supposed to say? And the lady said, "You should say, 'God rest his soul, poor fellow. God bless his soul. God rest his soul, poor fellow. God bless his soul.'" "Oh, okay," said Hassan. And so scuffing his shoes, he said over and over and over to himself, "God rest his soul, poor fellow. God rest his soul." Going down the road, and so he went over to the side of the road to investigate this smell, and there was a dead, very smelly fish who had been dead there for quite some time and really smelled bad. And Hassan looked at it and said, "God rest its soul, poor fellow. God rest his soul. God bless his soul, poor fellow. God rest his soul." And another person coming down the road just laughed. I mean, laughed. "Young man, you should not be saying that." Well, but oh, just tell me, what am I supposed to say? And he said, you should say, yuck, what a smell. Blah, what a terrible, terrible smell. And Hassan's nose did indeed tell him that it was a horrible smell. And so he thought, yep, that's what I'm supposed to be saying. So scuff, scuff, scuffing his shoes, he went down the road. Now in those times, remember this was many centuries ago, they did not have plumbing. Not only did they not have plumbing, but the poor people couldn't even bathe. But the rich ladies would go to these big fancy bathhouses, and they would bathe in the water and douse themselves with all the fancy perfumes of Arabia. And by the time they emerged from the bathhouses, they were feeling so good and fresh and beautiful. Just as they were emerging, poor Hassan, coming down the road in the opposite direction, was saying, yuck, what a smell! Blah, what a terrible, terrible smell! The ladies got exceedingly angry and started chasing after him and hitting him over the head with their bath timbers and saying, you should not say that! You should not say that! And then before that, oh, just don't hit me, just don't hit me, just tell me, what am I supposed to say? And the lady said, you should say, oh, how lovely, and my, how nice. Okay. Oh, how lovely, my, how nice. Oh, how lovely, my, how nice. And scuff, scuff, scuffing his shoes, he kept saying it over and over. He came to where there was a commotion on the side of the road, and a huge crowd was gathering. And he went and pushed his way through the crowd and saw two men ferociously fighting each other. And as the first one hit the other one and knocked him completely off of his feet, Hassan looked and said, oh, how lovely. And that man got up and hit the other man as hard as he possibly could, knocking him way across and hitting his head against the road. And Hassan said, oh, how nice. And one of the other people in the crowd said, you should not say that. It's not working. Can't you tell it's not working? You should not say that. Oh, just tell me, what am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to say? And he said, you should say, don't fight, gentlemen. Don't fight, please. Don't fight, gentlemen. Don't fight, please. And so Hassan scuffed, scuffed, scuffed his shoes further down the road, saying over and over, don't fight, gentlemen. Don't fight, please. Don't fight, gentlemen. Don't fight, please. And there was another commotion at the side of the road, and another crowd gathered. And he pushed his way through that crowd, and there were two dogs fighting. And I mean, they were pulling each other's hair out and just biting each other, and it was just horrible. And Hassan was watching, and he said, don't fight, gentlemen. Don't fight, please. Don't fight, gentlemen. Don't fight, please. Several people just kind of looked at him and said, you should not say that. And Hassan said, I'm very confused because and then oh, just never mind. Just tell me, what am I supposed to say? And they said, you should say, get out, dog. Get out, you dirty, mangy dog. And so Hassan looked at the first dog and stomped his foot and said, get out, dog. Get out, you dirty, mangy dog. And sure enough, that dog left. And he looked at the other one and he says, just get out of here, dog. Get out, dog. And that dog miraculously left. And so Hassan thought, oh boy, this is what I'm supposed to say. I'm so glad. And scuffing his shoes, he went down to the marketplace. And he reached the edge of it. Now the first stall at the marketplace belonged to a shoemaker. Remember, in those times, it was a long time ago. And in order to make shoes, they had to soften the leather first. Now, the only way they could soften the leather is for the shoemaker to chew on it and twist it at the same time, which really hurt his teeth. They lost their teeth very early, and it was very painful. And so here the shoemaker was softening the leather, and Hassan came by and said, "Get out, dog! Get out, you dirty, mangy dog!" The shoemaker got up and, taking the piece of leather, chased after Hassan and hit him over the head with it, saying, "You should not say that! Is it not bad enough I have to do this day after day without your mocking me? You should definitely not say that. Just don't hit me, and then just don't hit me. Just tell me, what am I supposed to say?" And the shoemaker said, "If you can't say anything nice, say nothing. Just say Heech." "Oh, Heech!" said Hassan. "Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. That's just what I was supposed to remember. Thank you, sir." And scuffing his shoes, he went to the stall where they sold salt and scuffed his shoes all the way back on the road home, smiling and humming to himself. With a big smile on his face, he handed it to his master. And his master looked, and he said, "You brought me salt, my fine young man. I knew you could do it."